Listening is one of those skills where a lot of us believe that we already have that built in from birth and that we know how to do that. As long as we can speak a language, we can communicate effectively to people, we can listen to them, we can validate them, we can learn from them. This is the case to some degree. Hey there everybody, welcome to today's video. My name is Nick Nevy and this is a channel focused on strengthening all sorts of connections, whether it be the relationship that you have with your partner, relationships with family, friends, co-workers, and even strangers that you might meet and encounter. So why is this needed right now? Well, I believe that this is needed because we have been in a booming technology age for quite some time. We've had the opportunity to collect a lot of data, and what we've realized is the attention span of the everyday person has become dramatically shorter. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's harder for things to hold our attention, it's harder for us to commit long-term to things, and this actually just makes life overall more difficult. And the more years that this goes on, unbeknownst to most people, the more difficult life is going to get, and people just aren't going to know why. So why is this a problem? Shortened attention span. Why does it even matter? It matters because it not only impacts our performance on ourselves as a whole, but it impacts the connections with every single person that we interact with on a daily basis. And a lot of those people are very important to us. So we want to be able to give them the connection, attention, and validation that they deserve. The question is, how do we begin to keep our social connection alive with other people? Well, there's a series of tactics and human behavior traits that you can focus on to make sure that you always have sound connections with the people in your network as well as yourself. And I'm going to teach you one of the most important skills today. What we're going to be studying is the art of listening. Now, listening is one of those skills where a lot of us believe that we already have that built in from birth and that we know how to do that. As long as we can speak a language, we can communicate effectively to people, we can listen to them, we can validate them, we can learn from them. This is the case to some degree. Of course, there's a bunch of people out there who do know how to listen, but the majority of us really haven't sat down and looked at that skill. It's not something that's taught in schools. It's not something that's taught in families. And it actually wasn't taught to me by my friend network either. It was something that I had to come face to face with at the age of 20 years old and realize, I don't know how to do this. And that quick story is I was in an acting class when I was 20 years old, and the type of acting training that we were doing involved listening and responding with a partner. It was a very simple exercise. I just had to listen to what that person was saying and respond immediately without thinking or trying to plan my response. And what I found was that the teacher would stop the exercise 5 seconds in, 10 seconds in every time because I was not accurately hearing the person who was speaking to me, even though I thought I was. And it was very frustrating because I didn't understand why I wasn't getting the exercise. The reason why I wasn't getting the exercise is because when the other person was talking, I was trying to anticipate my response, which actually involves a great portion of me not listening to them. And by the time I had perfected my reply in my head, it was already too late. Too much time had already passed, and it was evident to the teacher that I didn't actually hear the tonality and the inflection of what was being said to me. So to give up this preparation was one of the most difficult things that I ever had to do because I had to fully trust myself and my human instrument that it would know how to respond to the person, and not only know how to respond, but it would respond in the best way possible for them based off of what they said to me. So it's all about validating the person. It's all about showing the person that you heard them, that you respect them, that you're holding space for them. And when you actually listen to somebody, there's an energy that comes over the conversation that really is a comforting energy. It makes you feel understood as the person who's talking. It makes you feel a connection with the other person. It makes you feel like what you're saying matters. It's meaningful. And that's why listening is so important. So it was a huge shock when I was 20 years old thinking, oh, I know how to listen to people. I have friends, I have connections with my family, and I did. But now, looking back on the skill that was acquired since then, my connections with my family have improved, my connections with my friends have improved, and it's actually allowed me to build even stronger connections with partners and friends that I've come into contact with along the way. One of the greatest misconceptions about listening is that it's already innately in all of us. It's perfect and we don't have to do anything. In fact, it's an instrument that needs to be tuned and learned, just like playing a guitar or learning how to drive a car. It's something that we need to be aware of, that we need to focus on. Just like public speaking, we don't all just grow up to become incredible public speakers who have a presence, who are able to influence minds. We need to study tactics and learn how to best affect people in that way and influence people in that way. Today, we're going to actually learn how to listen to people effectively. It's a skill that is going to serve you for the rest of your life. It's a skill that you'll be able to work on, that you'll be conscious of, that you'll be able to perfect the rest of your life. Let's talk about some benefits of why listening is so important. The first one is that it's going to help you build connections with anyone that you talk to, whether it's friends, family, a stranger that you meet on the train. It's going to make the person speaking to you feel validated. It's going to make them feel like you're interested in what they're saying. And what that's going to do is it's going to make them want to say more. It's going to make them want to really give you the best information that they have on that topic, because they know that you appreciate them and that you want to connect with them and that you actually value this information. And it's also going to teach you new information that you may not have known. A lot of times we talk to a bunch of people on a daily basis and we never know what they're going to say. It could be the most mundane interactions that lead us to hear a fact that we never knew before and learn something new. Being able to listen and actually take that in and process that information is a very high quality skill to have. So for example, if somebody's talking to you about the importance of waking up early in the morning and you're not actually an early riser, so immediately when they start talking to you about that, you kind of tune that off because you're like, I'm never going to do that. It doesn't matter. It's not going to help me. So I don't really need to hear this person. I'll just think about what I'm going to cook for dinner instead while they're talking to me. If you actually open your mind up to it and say, I might not do this, but why does this person do this? Why does it help them? What could it do for me if I did try it? And you actually just don't hold any barrier there and you allow yourself to be captivated in the moment. You could learn something incredible about early rising, good habits, and you may not want to get up early after the conversation, but you may have changed something else that you heard in that conversation because you were listening, because you were giving your attention. You said, you know what? The whole conversation may not be for me, but I'm here with the person that I'm talking to, and I'm going to listen to them. It's really just about making the best use of your time in the moment and allowing yourself to take in new information, even if there's a spur of the moment thought that comes in that says, that's not going to be useful to me, or I don't need that, or I'm better than that. All right, so let's dive into some quick steps on how you can start doing this. The first thing that I would recommend above everything else is to give up the idea of thinking about what to say when someone else is talking. Just completely surrender that ability and let them talk and just give them your attention. Don't think about what to say next unless a question arises from something that they've said, in which case you can log that for later and ask at an appropriate time. If it's something that you absolutely need clarification on immediately, or you're going to forget, or you won't understand what they're saying, then you can say, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to make sure that I understand this one point that you just said. Can you go into that a little bit more? Or did you mean this by that? It's just a very short way to clarify what they're saying. They won't mind the interruption. They'll actually be glad, because they'll say, wow, this person's really listening to what I'm saying. They're really hearing me. They want to know more. So that's the first one. Just don't think about what you're going to say when they're talking. Try not to have other thoughts enter your mind of what are you going to eat for dinner? How long are you going to work out at the gym? Are you going to do your homework later? Things like that. If you find those types of thoughts coming into your mind, just work on pushing them away and going back to the conversation. And for people who are just really getting used to this, you may only be able to actually focus on what someone is saying for 10 seconds, maybe even less. And if that's where you are, if you can focus on what they're saying for 10 seconds, that's great. Just do your best in 10-second increments, and it will lengthen as you practice. Just like exercising a muscle, this is a mental muscle that you're going to be exercising. So you may start out with 10 seconds of being able to listen effectively to them, and then it may be 30 seconds, and then it may be a minute, and before you know it, 5 minutes, you're completely engaged and focused on what they're saying. This can be practiced every single day with every single person that you talk to in any situation. So it's really cool. You don't actually need to go to a gym to practice this or another venue. You can just practice it wherever you are, and that's what's exciting about it. So just a couple minutes every day will really help with your focus muscle, and it will actually help you retain more information as well. The second thing to be aware of when you're listening and engaged in a conversation with someone is eye contact. I would say try to hold eye contact with the person about 80% of the time. Notice if your gaze is being distracted by things going on in the room, or your phone, or you're checking your watch often, or if you're fidgeting with your hands or your feet. Just realize that you are currently putting some sort of attention into that, which means that you're not giving the other person your full attention, and subliminally they will know that. It might not make a huge difference, but their instrument is going to be smart enough to pick up on that, and it will slightly diminish the conversation a little bit, if not more. So focus on where's your attention at. Are you connected to them 80% of the time with your eyes? The reason why I say 80% and not 100 is because staring at somebody for 100% of the time can come off as creepy. It can come off as an alternative agenda. So I say 80% of the time to alleviate that tension of seeming creepy. And also, even if you're fully engaged, it's going to be normal to sway your gaze back and forth a little bit, or just relax your gaze off of the focus point, which in this case is going to be them, their face, and then gradually come back to it, staying connected to them. So it's definitely something that you can work on. The reason why I say eye contact is because most people actually don't look at people in the eyes, or even remotely in that direction when they're speaking to somebody. A lot of times people are looking at the floor, they're looking elsewhere, they're looking at their phones. Their gaze is just not focused on the person. So a way to test if you're doing this well is, can you tell the eye color of the main people in your network? Whether it's friends, family, your partner. If you're not sure what their eye color is, it probably means that you're not looking in that general direction enough and could use a little bit more. The next thing is going to be body language. This can help you or hurt you. I'm going to explain the differences. So with body language, you want to be facing the person that you're talking to. You want to be in a vulnerable position with your body when you're talking to them. The reason is because it will show the person talking that you're accepting of them, you're receiving of the information that they're telling you, you're considering the information that they're telling you, and that you're comfortable in their presence. You're not putting up a guard or a front or skeptical of what they're saying, anything like that. So a great way is to just have your body open, have your hands at your sides, have your feet shoulder width apart at their sides, and to just have a relaxed breathing temperament about you when they're talking. If you notice people in a room talking to one another at a function, a community event, something like that, you will notice next time you're in one of these rooms, very, very few people are standing with their hands completely at their sides. You're gonna see people with their arms crossed like this. You're gonna see people with their hands in their pockets. You're gonna see people with their hands up like this. You're gonna see people fidgeting with their hands. You're gonna see all sorts of things. You'll see people holding things with their hands, beverages. What that does is that diminishes the power of a person. It really does. It's saying, I'm scared in some way to be here, to be connecting to people, and I'm nervous. And that's still okay. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm threatening, but we as humans, we like confidence, we like being comfortable, we like when people exemplify those traits. I just want to say really quickly before we move on to the next thing, if this video is helping you so far, if you like the things that you're hearing, please like and subscribe, and feel free to turn on the notification bell so that you never miss important skills that you might need to know, especially with relationships. All right, so let's go over a couple of the things that we've learned so far that enhance the listening quality of a conversation. The first is eye contact. The second is body position. You want to make sure that your body is turned facing towards the person and completely open and vulnerable to what they're saying. The third thing is body language. So you want to pay attention to what your body is doing. You want to make sure that your hands are not in a guarded position or inside your pockets. You want to make sure that they're at your sides, that you're standing comfortably, that you're breathing comfortably and continuously throughout the conversation. You want to make sure that you're not fidgeting with your hands or doing anything that could be distracting to the conversation. And here's actually a tip. If you have a drink in your hand, you can actually hold the drink down by your side so that it's not guarding your body. Even having a drink like this, it's a form of protection. We're protecting ourselves here, or we're nervous about being fully vulnerable to someone when they're speaking to us. We can also hold the drink like this to make ourselves feel a little bit more comfortable in a conversation, but it does come off as guarded. So a great way to disarm that position is to just bring the drink over to the side like this. You can still hold it and talk, but I have not seen very many people do this, and it actually is very effective for making somebody feel more comfortable interacting with you. Now I'm gonna go over 2 hacks that can actually help enhance your listening ability in a conversation immediately, and they do that by letting the other person know subliminally that they have been heard and understood. The first one is to ask a person a question about the topic that they're talking about, to show that you're interested in it, to show that you're following them. So let's say you're talking to somebody about doing push-ups and they're trying to teach you how to do the perfect push-up. You could also say, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that form was actually so important when doing a push-up. What are some other types of push-ups that I can do to strengthen different parts of my chest area or my body? And that person may say, well, there's diamond push-ups, there's close-up push-ups, there's push-ups that you can do that are further apart to really get every muscle in this region. And so what that question does is it lets them know that you are participating in the conversation. You're actually genuinely interested in what they're saying. The second hack when you're in a conversation with somebody is to repeat something that they just said to you, but in a different way, to let them know that you understood them. So if you're talking to somebody and they said that you can burn an extra 500 calories a day just by walking 10,000 steps, you could say, wow, I didn't even know that. I mean, just being on your feet in general, you probably do 5,000-6,000 steps a day. That's 250 calories. If I do a full 10,000 steps, I can burn 500 calories, which is a small meal, really, or a big snack. That's incredible. And so what that does is it lets the other person know that you not only understand what they're saying, but that you're actually following them and participating in the conversation. It's going to make them feel more valued. It's going to make them feel more appreciated. And they're going to log that in their long-term memory. All the connections that that person has, and you're someone who actually listens to them, gives them time, allows them to share their thoughts, and you participate and you're allowing them to bounce beliefs and topics off of you to see how that works. It's helping them exercise their mind as well as yours. And so it's going to just carry further into building a long-term relationship with that person. Your connection to that person is going to be stronger than most of the other connections they have with people, because you have that listening fiber, that added strength in the conversation that comes from listening. And this continues to build over and over again, no matter how many conversations you have with that person. Well, that about wraps it up for today's video. I hope that you had a bunch of different takeaways on how to listen better and how to present yourself in conversations more effectively. If this information was helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more information on how to improve yourself and the relationships in your life.